All right, everyone, the European Union's authorities right now are planning on punishing Hungary. Ooh, punishing them. The patronizing tone that they're striking with regards to the Hungarian people, and the threatening tone which they're striking with Orban especially, but Hungary's government, national government at large, is exactly the wrong thing to do, will further Euroscepticism, will probably just steal the resolve of Hungary and possibly cause a Hexit to happen. This is why the European Union was fated to collapse. The problem is this: if you have a post-national authority, Nigel Farage warned of this, he was called a conspiracy theorist, now you see it on full display. It is a post-national system that is erasing national sovereignty. The problem is, so long as everyone plays by the rules, so long as you've got enough free money to simply pay off governments, like when Germany gives free money to Greece, so long as you can keep paying them off and say, well, there are always going to be some problems, we'll just pay our way through them, nobody rock the boat, just do what we say, we'll take care of you, make sure that you're functioning, we'll make sure that you get your tzatziki sauce today, communist government of Greece. So long as that goes along fine, there's no problem. Post-national authority can continue boiling the frog and growing more and more internally abusive, strangulated, bureaucratic, and outright totalitarian. The problem arises, of course, when someone dissents, and this is why the European Union cannot work. The dissent of the Hungarian people, which elected Orban, elected his government. He's a popular leader. He's also a populist leader. He is going to come out and say, in the wake of whatever sanctions they apply, if they apply weak sanctions, he'll say, look, the European Union is weak. We can't respect them. They said that they were going to do this and do that, and they didn't do it, ha ha ha, and he'll become more popular and more authoritarian, by the way, trust me. Or they really slam Hungary. They say, oh, fuck you, basically. We're taking this from you and taking that. We're going to send observers over to make sure you're not abusing any of the migrants that decided to stay there instead of, for some reason, going to Germany. I'm not sure why they'd want to. It's like, yes, let me stay in this nativistic country where my tent will get vandalized instead of going to Germany where it's literally against the law for anyone to look at me the wrong way. I don't understand it. What the fuck would you even want to? There's no welfare state there. It's like, just for the purposes of self-preservation, wouldn't you want to be in Germany or Sweden or something? I would. If I was a refugee or something from Syria or whatever, I'd be going to Germany. Hell, absolutely I would. Probably have more problem at that point if you're like a Shiite or an Alawite refugee. You certainly have problems considering the Wahhabi minority there in Berlin or Munich or something. But here's the thing. This is going to fuck the EU. It's not going to fuck Hungary. They can always leave the EU. If Hungary leaves, having a second country so close after Brexit, leaving, or even having a serious proposal for a Eurosceptic move like that, even having a serious conversation will rock the EU to its core. Everyone else will be considering the possibility. Other countries would follow. It would probably, if Western Europe gets together to abuse a developing economy in Eastern Europe like Hungary with strong diplomatic ties to Poland, the Czech Republic, Slovakia, Romania, all of these, certainly the Baltic states, it could cause all of Eastern Europe to sever ties with the EU. It could cause them to abandon it. The U.S., by the way, run by Trump especially, who's populistic at least in name, he'll come along and say, yeah, it's a decent idea, we can understand. You still trade with the U.S., we'll be your best friends. In fact, we'll send more aid. That's exactly, by the way, what DC should do. Eastern Europe is still growing. Western Europe is stagnant. I would make a swing towards, trying to buddy-buddy with Eastern Europe. They feel more positively towards the U.S., more negatively towards some of our adversaries. They're more reluctant to take in people who may have ties to our enemies around the world. I like Eastern Europe better. If at this point, as me, I probably couldn't even travel to Germany. They'd probably say I was a fascist or something, probably keep me at the airport. I can't even probably travel to my ancestral homeland of the UK, like England, where my family's from, predominantly, especially on my father's side. I'd probably get lower and southern if I tried to travel there. I'd be at Heathrow and they'd say, no, you can't leave the airport. You're going to have to wait in the airport until your ticket is due to go back tomorrow. I probably can't even see the land of my ancestry. But I bet I could travel to Poland. I bet the Baltic states would have no problem. I bet I could go to Bucharest or something. or Greece. I could go to Turkey. Erdogan doesn't give a fuck. I could go to these countries, but I can't even travel. In Western Europe, it'd be a patchwork of what countries can I set foot in without getting arrested for being, too far right, supposedly, or some stupid shit like that. I criticize the government. I criticize Merkel. 10 years in gulag for you. It's basically how it works. The European Union can't work because the problem is that in a situation where a state like Hungary dissents, the European Union has two options. They can ignore it, in which case other nations start dissenting and say, hey, the EU's not going to do anything. They don't apply sanctions. There's no repercussions for ignoring the rules. This is going to be great. Then the legalism falls apart, and then the EU basically becomes toothless. Well, that wouldn't work for those bureaucrats. Those MEPs need their high salaries now, don't they? The other possibility is you do enforce the rules. You do sanction people and abuse them and do more than talk badly about them. Then you get separatist movements because they're like, hey, why don't we just leave and be like the UK? We'll sort of be in partnership with them. What you may end up with is a very loose confederated sort of situation within Europe. I would say if I were Orban or if I were a Hungarian, you know what I would support? Leave the EU and don't even maintain relations. Scrap it entirely, partner with the US and everyone else, and wait until the rest of the EU collapses in the wake of having a Hexit or a Pexit with Poland or whatever final piece leaves the EU and causes the rest to collapse. You won't need all those deals then because there won't be an EU to make deals with. Brussels will no longer have a post-national authority. All you have to do is separate yourselves. If Italy and Hungary and Poland alone got together and did that, in the same span of time, it would rip the European Union apart and you'd see it devolve into a number of blocks. There'd be a German bloc, Merkel's people. Scandinavia would probably haul off and join the UK. You'd see France and Spain and some of these countries partner. And then you'd see sort of Southern and Eastern Europe probably pulling together into a currency bloc, maybe backed by Italy or Poland, which would make a hell of a lot more sense. And it'd be developing. You've got room to grow. Poland has room to grow its economy. Hungary, all of these other states. How much more do you think Germany can grow? They have to import millions of people just to fill their factories with workers. They have stalled out. Their economy's growth is running on fumes. It's only qualitative growth, no quantitative growth. Now, that's not the case in Eastern Europe. Belarus, population density may be a little bit lower. Possibly because the life expectancy is so much lower, but developing, I'd rather be in a developing part of the world than one that's strangulated. That's why ultimately I still dream of moving back to Texas. It's like Texas has room to expand. A lot of it's still very much rural, and it's expanding rapidly. Here, it's like the population is totally stagnant. You can feel it. You can almost feel it. The energy of Vermont is a stagnant energy. Vermont has a lot of good things about it in the same way that there are a lot of good things about Sweden. The stagnancy is not one of them. The displacement is not one of them. Here in Vermont, we're being displaced by Floridians. Primarily people come and build second homes. All the Vermonters, they move off to get jobs, then they retire back to Vermont and get taken care of by out-of-staters with lower level educations because there aren't enough people going into nursing and stuff like that here in the state. Meanwhile, Vermonters, they get educations, especially for the energy industry or something. They go off to work for a pharma or for an oil company. Something like that. It's very, very funny. That's about all. Peace out.